Time for sport now with Ben's Hammerley, and Ben's a real statement from Cronulla in the NRL.
Yeah, hi Chris, it was super impressive. They went to Manly and knocked the house down. A shark attack to prove they are contenders heading into the finals as they smash the Sea Eagles. Pub visits might be on the agenda again for the Hawks as a veteran is surprised by his own milestone. And let's not do that again. The Socceroos look to get back on track in Indonesia. Hawthorn are flying high after their first finals win in 9 years as they switch focus to Friday's do-or-die semi against Port Adelaide. The Hawks' unexpected finals push means veteran Luke Bruce can now bring up a huge milestone.
Landmark game 300 has crept up this Friday for fan favourite Luke Bruce, and it even caught the Hawks super sub by surprise.
If you had told me around 6 or 7 that I would play 300 this year, I probably would have laughed at you.
Hawthorn will travel to Adelaide for their semi-final against Port, and like coach Sam Mitchell, the veteran isn't fussed if any of his fellow forwards take another pre-finals pub visit.
Mitch's biggest strength is that he's been able to adjust and know that not everyone's the same, but if that's what they need to do to play their best footy, then I'm all in on it.
Joel Amarty's winner booked minor premiers Sydney a ticket to the prelim, but post-match it was revealed the hero Swan was close to missing the contest with a sprained ankle, along with skipper Callum Mills, who played through gastro.
He actually didn't even know about Millsy until after the game. He was just sort of sitting there, he was all rugged up and just not looking 100% himself.
Still mesmerised by Isaac Heaney's soaring mark.
Ridiculous.
The Sydney Star's mum took to social media to thank Giants defender Jack Buckley for breaking her son's fall.
A nice thing to do, to be able to, he probably didn't even think about it, it was just instincts to be like, oh, I got to stop this bloke landed on his head.
GWS now host Brisbane next Saturday, who ended the Blues season at the Gabba, down 60-0 after a slow start. Carlton are clear on where they need to improve in 2025.
I think that game probably summed up a bit of our year, like just too inconsistent, not hard enough to play against at certain times, and we want to be known as that team.
Nick Newman has escaped with a fine for this hit on Lachie Neale. Geelong's Gary Rowan out for the year with a fractured skull, while Brisbane are optimistic key defender Jack Payne will play the Giants despite being subbed out to a knee injury against the Blues. Jonathan Simon for 10 News First.
North Melbourne and Geelong have played out a draw in the AFLW as wet weather wreaked havoc. Sydney without star Chloe Malloy, who's been ruled out for the year with an ACL injury. The Saints destroying the Swans.
No one inside 50. Jesse Waller rolls this ball on and on and on and on.
Carlton secured their first win of the year in a grandstand finish against the Gold Coast, while Richmond brought home an 11-point victory against GWS. Newcastle's Kalen Ponga has produced an inspired performance against the Dolphins, with the last spot in the NRL finals on the line. The Dolphins controversially denied the first try for obstruction before the Knights fullback set up Adam Elliott to lead at the break. He'd do the same again for Brodie Jones.
Bends away from Fuller, across the face of everybody, gives it to Brodie Jones. Ponga does it again.
The winner will fly to Townsville up against the Cowboys on Sunday. All venues for the first week of the NRL finals have been locked in. The Sea Eagles blowing their opportunity to host thumped 40-20 by Cronulla.
More on the line than just the battle of the beaches. Sione Katoa tiptoed in first.
So I don't think I've seen a put down like that before. Carrying along like a little man bag.
A glimpse of Manly's strong run at home showed, but was soon turned on its head. Cronulla crossing with the next 4 tries.
Support, and now Cronulla, they backload in absolute full flight.
Jesse Ramian on report after this high shot that got tempers flaring. Their big back rower running in a quick double.
Trindle, great ball, he's on his way again. Brett Nickora.
Manly off to Bulldog territory next week, despite them being held to just 1 try, as the Cowboys pulled off one of their finest performances of the season to lock in a home elimination final.
I guess it pays them back for the continual support they've given us over the years that I've been there. We're a better team in Townsville, there's no doubt.
Canterbury banking on Matt Burton, Bronson Cherry and Josh Addo-Carr's return next week after their second consecutive loss to a top 8 side.
A lot of stuff that we need to fix pretty quickly.
what's done is done now. New competition starts next week and we deserve to be there.
Penrith also locking in a home final, though only just holding off the Titans 18-12. Nathan Cleary dearly missed, but won't be their sole finals answer.
We've never put it all on one player in our team. We have a system. It's everybody's job to do the net. It'll be his to do his. If he gets there.
Brooke East for 10 News First.
The Roosters' NRLW thrashing of Cronulla has come at a cost, with star half Taryn Aiken forced off with an AC joint injury. She's heading for scans tonight. The Tricolours unstoppable against the league leaders, running in 8 tries.
Kelleher, now Kelly, quick hands, Naividi for the corner.
Boots and all between the Titans and Eels in a physical affair. Too late para tries the difference, with Elsie Albert's second sealing a 10-point win. The Wallabies have hit another low in this morning's record 40-point shellacking in Argentina. Coach Joe Schmidt pleading for patience as he rebuilds the side. They gave up a 17-point lead. The Pumas unleashed with 4 tries in the final 10 minutes.
Australia, they're going to cop one late.
We're going to regroup, have a few days off and really get ready to rip into the All Blacks.
And the All Blacks will be keen too after an 18-12 loss to the Springboks, their 4th straight against South Africa. The Socceroos say losing to Bahrain goes to show you can't take any opposition lightly. They're aiming to make it a one-off hiccup in the World Cup qualifying. John Idale now training with the squad, replacing suspended Kazini Yangi. Keanu Bacchus also keen to come in and help get things back on track.
Asian teams are getting a lot better, and credit to them, because they're investing well, and also on the day very, very tough opponents to play against. This whole group's going to be tough, and hopefully we can get 3 points on the board on Tuesday.
Indonesia's ahead of Australia, having started with a draw in Saudi Arabia. Tuesday's game on Paramount Plus. Aryna Sabalenka is the US Open champion, making up for losing the final last year. The Belarusian defeating hometown favourite Jessica Pegula in straight sets, 7-5, 7-5.
She's wanted this so badly for so long. Finally, I got this beautiful trophy. It means a lot.
Sabalenka is now the world #1 and snags a $5.4 million check. And joy for Max Purcell and Jordan Thompson, winning the men's doubles, the first All-Aussie team to do that since the Woodies in 1996. Australian Paralympic co-captain Curtis McGrath has delivered again, claiming gold in the KL2 kayak sprint to be crowned Paralympic champion in the event for a 3rd straight games.
But no one was going to touch the Aussie here. Almost clear water for him.
And closing ceremony flag bearer James Turner will have another gold to bring home, equaling the Paralympic record to cross the line first in the T36 100-metre final. A stunning all-round performance from Cam Green has guided Australia to a T20 series sweep and a 6-wicket victory over Scotland. Green with an unbeaten knock of 62 from 39 balls, plus 3 wickets, courtesy of some brave fielding.
We'll try and hack one out of the ground into the leg side. Now, has he got enough of this? Not quite, because it's an exceptional catch.
The big 4 quicks are going really well. So, yeah, if I can slot in there and help out, I'll try my best. But, yeah, the body's in a really good place at the moment. So, if they require some more, yeah, I'm ready.
Next up, a 3-match T20 series against England starting in Southampton on Thursday morning. A Mouthy Wildcats coach John Riley was ejected, but it didn't stop reigning MVP Bryce Cotton stealing a come-from-behind victory over the Breakers at the Blitz.
Onto it, Cotton does get it loose and puts the Cats ahead.
Earlier, it was a pre-season offensive masterclass by Illawarra against the Phoenix, 6 Hawks posting double figures in the 19-point battering. And finally, if you needed another reminder of the power of sport, meet Robin.
You're kidding. And then, I am not kidding. Then Griffin, give me this ball.
Yeah, not letting go of that ball anytime soon for delivering us a pure shot of joy. Greta Bodie's littlest fan can have our play of the day. Very cute, Chris. No doubt she's in the backyard trying to bend it like Bodie right now.
I reckon Robin will be all over it. Thanks, Vince.
Good afternoon. Here's what's making news this Monday, the 9th of September. Like an explosion, 3 young children left fighting for their lives after being pulled from a house fire in Melbourne. The driver behind the wheel of the Hunter Valley bus crash, which killed 10 people, set to learn his fate. A shocking new report exposes the grim financial reality Queenslanders are facing. Plus, new polling reveals who voters are blaming for Australia's inflation woes. And some welcome news for Victorians who enjoy cooking with gas.
This is 10 News First Lunchtime with Angela Bishop.
Good afternoon. 3 children are fighting for their lives in hospital after being pulled from a burning Melbourne home overnight. It remains unclear if anyone else was in the house at the time of the blaze. Jessica Maggio has more.
Neighbours say they heard multiple explosions loud enough to rattle doors and windows before fire and smoke took hold of the Sydenham property in Melbourne's northwest. One neighbour described hearing a child's screams before firefighters arrived on scene just before 9:30 last night.
It was like an explosion. At first we thought it was gunshots, and so we cowered a bit, and then I peeked out the back window and saw the flames and the smoke coming out the back.
A few of us heard screaming, so we told a firefighter to go in, and they did. About 20 minutes after, they came out with 3.
Firefighters immediately went inside the property and pulled out 3 children, all under the age of 5. One neighbour described them as lifeless.
Tried to resuscitate the boys for about 15 to 20 minutes.
I had no idea who was in there. The only thing I can recall over the weekend was hearing those kids play outside.
Yeah, it was very distressing to find out that there was little kids inside.
All 3 children suffered life-threatening injuries and were taken to the Royal Children's Hospital, where they remain in a critical condition. Emergency services say the fire took hold of the Sydenham property from the back, and neighbours say the fire took hold very quickly. Residents have told 10 News First they weren't aware anyone was inside the property, let alone 3 young children.
It just shouldn't happen. Shouldn't. I mean, I walk every day by and I never saw a car parked, never saw any children anywhere or anybody moving, so got me tossed. Absolutely baffled and tossed.
The arson and explosive squad have arrived on scene to investigate the circumstances surrounding this blaze. It's not known whether the parents were home at the time of the incident, but that is forming part of the police investigation.
Jessica Maggio there. It's being described as a proceeding of an unprecedented scale. A 3-day hearing has begun to decide on the sentence for Brett Button, the driver behind the wheel of the bus which crashed in the Hunter Valley, killing 10. Our reporter Alice Hogg is in Newcastle for the hearing. Alice, what's expected in the coming days?
Well, Ange, in a packed courtroom, Brett Button is facing dozens of family members of the 10 people who were killed in June last year when the bus that he was driving crashed at a roundabout near Greta in the New South Wales Hunter Valley. He's also hearing from survivors who were on board the bus. All of those passengers had been on their way home from a wedding. In May, Button went into custody having pleaded guilty to 35 offences, including 10 counts of dangerous driving causing death. And at the outset of this morning's hearing, the first day of the sentencing submissions, the judge acknowledged the highly sensitive nature of the proceedings now afoot, noting that a breakout room has been provided within the court facility for anyone who becomes too overwhelmed and decides they'd like to step out for a moment or two. He also told the court in these words, justice is not about revenge, it is about accountability, deterrence and punishment. And Ange, these sentencing proceedings are due to run over the next 3 days here in Newcastle.
Thanks, Alice. Alice Hogg there. A shocking new report shows Queenslanders are skipping meals and missing medication to survive the cost of living crisis. Our reporter Bianca Carboni has more.
Angela, in a survey of more than 1,000 Queenslanders, 94% said they're concerned about the cost of living. The Queensland Council of Social Services Living Affordability Report shows a single parent's weekly budget is more than $150 in deficit. Single parents, unemployed people and students, as well as senior couples and couples with 2 children, all don't have enough money for unplanned emergencies. Homes are spending more than a third of their income on housing, and 70% of the survey participants said housing costs have risen in the past 6 months.
The report shows that we're seeing increasing costs in housing, in electricity, in food and in transport, and it is really difficult for families to make ends meet. This report makes it clear that in the lead up to the election, the issue our leaders should be focused on is cost of living.
QCOS is calling on the state government to extend cost of living relief and put caps on the cost of renting. Angela?
Bianca Carboni there. Voters are laying the blame on the federal government for Australia's ongoing inflation woes, not the Reserve Bank. Live to federal political reporter Lucy Gray. Lucy, how much pressure does this add?
And it just adds to the current weight on the Treasurer's shoulders. Now, the latest polling by Resolve Political Monitor shows 51% of voters believe the government is responsible for reducing those cost of living pressures many Australians are feeling, while just 27% believe it's on the RBA. Now, the Reserve Bank decided against cutting the official cash rate at its last meeting, arguing inflation is still just too high to do so at 3.8%. It's drawn some criticism from senior Labor members in recent weeks, including the Treasurer, who argues that high interest rates are smashing the economy. But this morning, Labor has sought to reassure Australians it's doing all it can.
We're still working hard on it, but we've done, we want Australians to earn more and keep more of what they're earning. The previous government said low wages were a deliberate design feature of their economic architecture.
Well, they're turning away from Labor in particular because this cost of living crisis has been created in this building.
It's not all good news for the coalition, though, as it remains neck and neck with the government after preferences, according to this poll. So what this tells us is that voters aren't overly convinced by either major party.
Thanks, Lucy. Victorians will be able to keep cooking with gas in a backflip by the state's government. There are reports that a long-term plan to force homeowners to replace gas cookers with electric options was said to be considered as part of a shift away from fossil gas. But that's now been softened, and Premier Jacinta Allen says the state is still moving toward renewable energy, however acknowledges gas is still needed in the short term.
Some households want to keep cooking with gas, and we're saying today very clearly that can continue to be the case. But for those households who are considering going all electric, there is support there to do that.
The Premier is hopeful Victorians will make the switch to electrical appliances in order to save money on their energy bills. A cracked rail line has derailed the morning commute for thousands across Sydney. Transport authorities say the urgent repairs were unavoidable, but the short notice caught many out. Michaela Fanto has been speaking to some of the stranded and delayed.
And the repair work took place here at Central Station, of course, the junction of Sydney's rail network. Many didn't know what to expect until they were already on the morning commute. Transport for New South Wales says the cracked rail had to be cut out and replaced immediately. But while it was the T1 North Shore line that was directly affected, the repairs meant most of the main lines were impacted, with just the T4 Eastern Suburbs, Illawarra and South Coast lines escaping the delays. For the hundreds caught out, it was an annoying and stressful start to the week.
And I was fortunate enough to have a seat, but by the time we got to Schofields Quakers Hill, the train was absolutely packed and people were standing. It's like sardines. Dreadful.
Trains have still been running between Wynyard and Hornsby and between Berowra and North Sydney. Buses were brought in to replace trains between Campbelltown and Macarthur on the T8 line. The good news is the backlog is starting to clear, with repair works not expected to impact the trip home. Until the timetable returns to normal, though, Transport for New South Wales is reminding passengers to allow extra travel time and to stay up to date with the latest information.
Michaela Fanto there. Mothers suffering blood pressure problems during pregnancy are being put at risk due to a critical shortage of medication. The Medical Journal of Australia reports that a lack of supplies of the medication and other drugs considered safe for use during pregnancy could leave women in danger of complications like brain bleeds. Joining me now with more is Associate Professor Stephen Kane from the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne. Thanks for your time this afternoon. How important is it for pregnant women with blood pressure problems to be able to access this medication?
Thanks, Angela. Yes, this is really critically important. High blood pressure in pregnancy is of significant concern, and the reason why in Australia most women with blood pressure problems in pregnancy have good pregnancy outcomes is because we can treat the blood pressure quickly and effectively with agents that we know are safe.
There are 300,000 pregnancies in Australia each year. How many women could be affected by these shortages?
So it's up to around 10% who have high blood pressure in pregnancy. So it's in the order of 30,000, so not a small number.
What are some of the drugs we're talking about and what's causing the shortages?
So some of the drugs include agents like nifedipine and labetalol, and all the agents we use for blood pressure in pregnancy are old. They're at least 30 years old, and the shortages have arisen because we haven't been able to include pregnant women in trials of new agents over this time. There's been a reluctance to do that. And as a result, these old drugs are all off patent and they're cheap, and so they're not attractive to commercial importers or sponsors in Australia.
So you think that these trials should be done on pregnant women where possible so that a drug supply is guaranteed?
That's part of the solution, yes, so that pregnant women can enjoy the advances that the non-pregnant population have enjoyed over the last 30 years or so. And so it's important, it's really important that we include pregnant women in these clinical trials to develop safe agents for them and for their future.
There are also currently shortages of hormone therapy for menopausal women. Is there actually a government department in charge of ensuring the supply of drugs to our population is maintained?
So I think this responsibility seems to be spread across a number of areas in the department. The TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, has responsibility for regulating the importation of drugs and their sale in Australia. But this requires a sponsor, a commercial entity, to come forward and put forward an idea or a drug for marketing in Australia. And I think that's certainly where the limitation has been, that some of these older safe drugs are not appealing to commercial sponsors, and so they aren't being imported anymore.
So what could we do to rectify the situation?
So I think there's two things. The longer term solution is that we really address the barriers to including pregnant women in trials of novel agents, of new medications, looking at what the indemnity, the insurance arrangements might be, and prioritising research in this area to make up for the fact that we've gone for so many years without including them. And the second component is developing a public interest pathway to support the importation of medications that aren't attractive commercially, but that we know are safe and effective for use in pregnancy. They're still being made overseas. We just need to make sure that our pregnant women can get them in Australia.
Professor Stephen Kane, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Coming up today, a massive manhunt for a gunman who shot 5 people near a Kentucky highway. A deadly terror shootout at a border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan. And the Pope travels to remote jungles bearing gifts.
Ready to open that final briefcase?
Let's do it.
Congratulations! You too could win a top prize of $100,000 with the new Deal or No Deal ticket from Instant Scratches.
It's scratchy time.
I love a sunburned country. A land of sweeping plains. Of ragged mountain ranges. Of drought and flooding rains. When the lucky country isn't so lucky.
Lucky you're with Amy.
Our hair colour is us.
colouring our hair goes deeper than outward beauty. It lets our true colours shine from within, and that's powerful. Create your style with Schwarzkopf Live Colour.
Ready for your next holiday? Combine and save with Jetstar Holidays. You get your flights and hotel with baggage and seat selection all in one booking. Plus there's deals with extra perks like buffet brekkie or a massage or late checkout or airport transfers. You'll save a ton of time because we've packed everything for you. So, where to? Bali, Phuket, Gold Coast, Fiji. There's so much to choose from. To plan your trip, search Jetstar Holidays today.
A TAFE New South Wales degree will give you a head start in your career. Choose from a variety of courses and graduate with the hands-on practical skills employers want. So make a life-changing move with a TAFE New South Wales degree.
TAFE! Really messing with your game. Time to sweep him out of the room. Oh, maybe not.
Bing bang ding, ding ding bang, bang bang. The 2024 Paralympics has wrapped up with an absolute spectacle put on inside Stade de France for the closing ceremony. Spreading the message of inclusion and opportunity, the event was filled with music, dance and theatre. James Turner and Lauren Parker flew the flag for Australia, with the country picking up 63 medals over the 11-day competition. Opening ceremony flag bearer Madison De Rosario nabbing our final medal in the marathon, though she admitted she was very close to withdrawing from the Games.
It's been a really tough week. I wasn't going to say this in an interview. My dad passed away the day of the opening ceremony, and so this week's been a little bit of a blur. We've just wanted to sort of get to this point. If I had to be away from home, this is where I would have wanted to be.
The next Paralympics will follow the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028. 3 male Israeli civilians have been shot dead at a border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan. The gunman has been identified as a Jordanian man who was killed by the Israeli military during the shootout at the Allenby Bridge crossing. The IDF says the suspect approached them in a truck coming from Jordan before he exited the vehicle and unleashed a hail of bullets. Hamas says it's not responsible for the attack, but labelled it as a natural response to the war in Gaza.
The killers do not distinguish between us. They want to murder us all until the last one. Right and left, secular and religious, Jews and non-Jews. What prevents the elimination of our people, as in the past, is the strength of the State of Israel and the strength of the IDF.
All of Israel's crossings with Jordan have been closed following the incident. It comes as large protests erupt in Jordan's capital, with thousands of demonstrators voicing support for the slain gunman while celebrating the deaths of Israeli civilians. A manhunt is underway in Kentucky for a person accused of shooting multiple people in their cars driving on a highway. Christian Benavides has the details.
As local and federal law enforcement officers search through thick woods for a highway shooter in southeastern Kentucky, they say an AR-15 semi-automatic weapon has been recovered.
If he planned this, it's so remote. That's probably one of the most remote exits along I-75. He couldn't have picked an area that is any more remote and difficult for us to try to locate him.
The victims have been shot through the windshield.
Late Saturday, officials found a silver SUV registered to Joseph Couch, the 32-year-old suspect, after someone shot at 9 vehicles and wounded 5 people on busy Interstate 75.
We don't want our guys to get hurt. We don't want any more of the public to be hurt, and we want to take him into custody safely. And it's a big task.
According to authorities, an individual who was off that exit fired multiple rounds into the lanes going in both directions. The shooter was not in a vehicle at the time.
They told us that we was not allowed to go
that way because of the active shooter.
This nearby resident says getting home was a challenge because of road closures.
It's literally in the heart of our own city, so it's very heartbreaking.
Officials say Couch, described as 5'10" and about 150 pounds, could still be armed and dangerous. The Laurel County Rescue Squad has a drone searching along with a helicopter. Only one individual was believed to be involved in the shooting, which authorities are calling a random act.
Christian Benavides there. King Charles has marked the second anniversary of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II's death at a church service near Balmoral. Charles was seen arriving at the church of Crathie Kirk with Camilla. The monarch has been spending the summer in the Scottish Highlands. Pope Francis has travelled to a remote town in the jungles of Papua New Guinea, bringing the community stricken with poverty gifts of medicine, clothing and toys. A crowd of 20,000 gathered to welcome the Pope with musical performances and traditional dances as he wore a feathered headdress they presented to him. He preached to end tribal rivalries and violence that are a regular part of the culture in the country. It is the second leg of his four-nation tour of Southeast Asia and Oceania. Up next, a check at the day in finance and a preview of the final report of the long-awaited Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicides.
Ready to open that final briefcase?
Let's do it.
Congratulations! You too could win a top prize of $100,000 with the new Deal or No Deal ticket from Instant Scratches.
It's Scratchy time. Introducing the Shark HydroVac, a 3-in-1 hard floor cleaner that vacuums, mops and cleans itself all at the same time. Remove wet and dry messes with ease. Shark HydroVac, for all of life's everyday messes. Zoom, zoom.
Be ready to lend at Meet Your Keys. With Allianz Comprehensive Car Insurance, they're covered, the same as you. Get your quote today. Allianz.
Thank God you're here, Captain. You too.
Oh my God. Wednesday, what'll happen when Ray O'Leary, Susie Youssef, Virginia Gay and Lloyd Langford go through the blue door on Thank God You're Here.
Time for a check of the day's finance, and joining me now is Juliet Sarli from Ausbiz. Juliet, global equities have taken a dive following the poor jobs report in the US.
That's right, and we actually had analysts call this the worst of both worlds, this jobs report that was highly anticipated and came through on Friday night. On the one hand, fewer jobs created in August in the US economy than expected, but on the other hand, unemployment is at 4.2% from 4.3%. So that suggests the jobs market is not falling off a cliff to warrant a 50 basis point rate cut from the Fed later this month. But we did see some big falls coming through, the tech-heavy NASDAQ having its worst weekly drop in more than 2 years, and the broader share market had its worst week since March 2023. That's flowed through to Asia. The Nikkei in Tokyo today down by as much as 3%, and our market fell by more than 1.5% on the open, Ange.
And Juliet, the boss of Westpac is retiring.
Yeah, that's right, and he will be replaced by Anthony Miller, who's going to take over the top job from mid-December. Westpac announcing today that Anthony Miller has been appointed CEO and Managing Director. He's currently Chief Executive of Westpac's Business and Wealth Division. He'll succeed Peter King, who, as you say, is retiring after a 30-year career at Westpac, including 5 as CEO. And the Westpac chair, Stephen Gregg, saying that Anthony Miller is the right person to take Westpac into a new era, saying he's an exceptional leader and individual of integrity and ready to lead Australia's oldest company.
And how are the markets looking today?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, we did have that really big sell-off on the open, but things did start to turn around in the morning session. We're still down by 56 points, but not quite the hefty fall that we saw earlier. Westpac shares falling, as is Premier Investments. This, as one of its executives has been forced to leave the company. Super Retail and Viva Energy going ex-dividend today. Having a look at where the Aussie dollar is tracking, stronger against the greenback, getting back towards that 67 US cent mark. And when it comes to commodities, we did see some big falls on Friday in the oil market, but it's a little bit higher in Asian trades, $71.58 a barrel. Ange.
Juliet Sally from Ausbiz, thank you so much. The report by the Royal Commission into Defence and Veterans Suicide has been handed to Governor-General Sam Mostyn ahead of its public release later this afternoon. Joining me with more is 10 News First National Affairs Editor Hugh Remington. Hugh, thanks for joining us. 6,000 submissions, 3-year inquiry. What can we expect?
We can expect some pretty sobering stuff. We can expect a lot of recommendations, and we can expect stuff which the Chief Commissioner, Nick Calders, the former senior New South Wales police officer, says is not essentially new. There have been, on his count, at least 57 previous inquiries dealing with suicide and mental health issues within Defence, about 770 recommendations, and he says that basically people have these inquiries, they make recommendations, and there's no follow-through, and so the problem remains critical. It's almost as if they'll have a look, but they don't care to do anything about it.
What is the scale of the problem?
So it is phenomenal. 1,677 serving and veteran ADF members took their own lives between 1997 and 2021. Break down those numbers. That's 70 suicides a year. These are the ones that have been able to confirm with suicide, taken by their own lives. That's one every 5 days. And what they found is that more than 20 times as many people in Defence are taking their own lives than are being killed in actual combat or in military training. So what they found is that there is something inside Defence itself which seems to strain the mental health of the people who sign up to serve our country and essentially give away so much of their own rights in order to defend us.
There were a lot of tears shed during this inquiry, and not just from the people giving evidence.
No, there were certainly a lot of tears from people giving evidence, people who'd lost loved ones and so on, but there were tears by the commissioners as well. And one of the things that's been revealed in the last day is that Chief Commissioner Calder says that he and all of the other commissioners, or the other two commissioners, underwent regular counselling themselves to deal with the vicarious trauma, the sadness, the sorrow, the grief, the anger that they were seeing from the people who are giving evidence. And when you bear in mind, these are not people who are kind of babes in the wood. A former senior police officer, Peggy Brown, one of the commissioners, is a senior psychiatrist. The other one is a senior lawyer, a KC, and yet they felt that it was wise for their own mental health to undertake counselling through this process.
Have we heard from any of the commissioners yet today?
So they have been speaking a little bit out today, and they have mapped out, without giving too much detail, because until it's landed in Parliament just after question time, around about 3 o'clock Eastern time, we're not going to know what the recommendations are officially, but yes, they have been speaking about some of the issues. And one of the things that we've heard, for example, that they want to get out of this, they're not foreshadowing what their recommendations are, except for one thing. So that it doesn't become just another report sitting on a shelf, they want a permanent commissioner or some similar body to monitor progress on these issues. And one of the points made by Peggy Brown, one of the commissioners, very clearly is that it is not just those who served on the front lines, who experienced war trauma. In many cases, there were people who did not see direct combat or even deployed. The problem, she says, lies within Defence itself. Let's take a quick listen.
There is a lot of trauma and a lot of exposure to trauma, but it's trauma through the cumulative effects of what they experience day in and day out.
Unless there is an entity with enough power and resources to tackle the problems, they're simply going to persist. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect the result to come out different.
So there's the hint. Unless there's an entity, and he wants a lasting, permanent commission looking at these issues.
Is there any specific reference, do you think, to the experience of females in defence?
Look, this is really distressing, and anyone who's worked with veterans over the years has found that it's tough on all. It's particularly tough on women. Suicide among women in defence is at more than double the rate of women in the general population. That is a terrible statistic. And one of the things that Commissioner Brown said is that sexual assault is far more common within defence than it should be. And one of the problems being is that inside defence, it's a military justice system. It's not a civilian justice system. So if you've got an issue that you raise, you're raising it with senior officers. There's a vulnerability about that. And as she said, in many cases, it is not followed through in the way it might be in the civilian justice system. So the sense of outrage, of betrayal, that your case is not being dealt with by those up the chain of command adds to the mental health stresses that those women experience.
Well, Hugh, you'll bring us a full wrap of that report in 10 News First at 5 this afternoon. We'll hear from you then.
Sure will.
Thank you very much. And remember, if you need help, there are specific services for veterans, including Open Arms on 1800 011 046, as well as the Defence All Hours support line. Still ahead today, a $1 million reward on offer for information about an infamous underworld execution in Melbourne. Plus, meet 100-year-old Pat, who's ticking off her need for speed in Sydney Harbour.
Ready to open that final briefcase?
Let's do it.
Congratulations! You too could win a top prize of $100,000 with the new Deal or No Deal ticket from Instant Scratches.
It's scratchy time.
Ready for your next holiday? Combine and save with Jetstar Holidays. You get your flights and hotel with baggage and seat selection all in one booking. Plus there's deals with extra perks like buffet brekkie or a massage or late checkout or airport transfers. You'll save a ton of time because we've packed everything for you. So, where to? Bali, Phuket, Gold Coast, Fiji. There's so much to choose from. To plan your trip, search Jetstar Holidays today.
Introducing the Shark Cordless Detect Pro, featuring our most intuitive deep cleaning technologies, Dirt Detect and Edge Detect. Detect, react, capture, empty with the Shark Cordless Detect Pro.
Victoria Police are offering a $1 million reward for information on the shooting of a known underworld figure. The 53-year-old was killed in the drive-by shooting attack in August last year, just metres from Melbourne's famous Chapel Street. Georgia Simpson has all the details.
It's been more than a year since Mohammed Keshtiar, or Afghan Ali, was gunned down on a Melbourne street, and now police are offering a seven-figure reward for information about the gangland execution. The 53-year-old was shot multiple times on Almeida Crescent in South Yarra at about 11:40 p.m. on August 4. Police say a stolen grey Toyota Prado drove up to Keshtiar and his friend, and that a passenger fired multiple shots. The passenger then got out and fired more shots at Keshtiar before driving off. The stolen SUV had distinctive hubcaps featuring a red letter M and the word Monster. It was found burnt out early the next morning at Endeavour Hills. Despite witnesses trying to help, Keshtiar couldn't be saved and later died in hospital. Keshtiar was known to police and had links to several outlaw motorcycle gangs and other organised crime groups. Detective Inspector Dean Thomas said the assassination was deliberate and targeted. It's hoped the $1 million reward is enough to lure someone with information to come forward.
That $1 million is legitimate money that they can take away with them and create a new life with. And again, I think it is sufficient and it's substantial. And again, that's out there today, and we hope that anyone that hears this will come forward and share that information with us.
Police are keeping an open mind as to whether the people involved have fled interstate or overseas.
Georgia Simpson there. It's now time for some good news with Daniel Doody. Dudes, what do you have for us on this Monday?
And a very good afternoon to you, Ange. It's great to be on the desk with you. Happy Monday to you all. Let's meet 100-year-old Pat, who recently ticked off an experience from her bucket list. She took on a high-speed jet boat ride around Sydney Harbour.
We're a bit hot. I want to go faster.
Can we do it all again?
Do it again.
Life for living.
Indeed it is, Pat. Well done. She recently featured on Kyle and Jackie O's breakfast show, chatting about her thrill-seeking experience. Ange, would you give it a go?
I've done a bit of that in New Zealand. It's 50 Shades of very good fun.
Indeed. I've done it twice. I don't think I could do it a third time, but it's very, very much fun. It sure is great fun indeed. Now, here's a remarkable tale of survival from the wild. Mum and daughter were both attacked by a dog recently. The pair did everything they could to survive until they became separated. Thankfully, the little Joey named Squeak was rushed to the Australian Zoo Wildlife Hospital. This is the adorable moment they were reunited. Oh, so cute stuff. At the Wildlife Hospital say they are both doing very well and will be released back into their natural environment once they have fully recovered. A beautiful story indeed. And finally, Ange, a principal and a teacher have been praised for their quick action after helping to deliver a baby at school.
We were waiting for the ambulance at the front door, and Paige was like, "This baby is coming." And we were like, "No, it can't come yet." And we didn't have a choice. So Paige ran into the bathroom. Ashley ran in behind her. I ran in behind Ashley. Ashley caught a baby. I started pumping the paper towels to have something to wrap the baby in. And then we were holding a baby in our hands. I held the baby. I told Ashley to start rubbing the baby's chest so that she would start kind of moving around a little bit and breathing until we could see her chest moving. Ashley rubbed her chest, wiped her face, and then from that point we just waited until firefighters and EMTs got here. So within 10 minutes we had a water break and driving away in an ambulance. So very fast.
That was Principal Amy Simmons there from Cunningham Elementary School. She says Mum and her newborn daughter are doing well. Simmons has noted there are currently 4 teachers pregnant and jokingly said no one else is allowed to have a baby at school. Ange, that's your good news wrap up.
Good result, thanks, Boots.
Indeed.
Up next, all the day's entertainment news, including who will be headlining the highly anticipated Super Bowl halftime show. And actor Dick Van Dyke celebrates another big win.
Ready to open that final briefcase?
Let's do it.
Congratulations! You too could win a top prize of $100,000 with the new Deal or No Deal ticket from Instant Scratches.
It's scratchy time.
Ready for your next holiday? Combine and save with Jetstar Holidays. You get your flights and hotel with baggage and seat selection all in one booking. Plus there's deals with extra perks like buffet brekkie or a massage or late checkout or airport transfers. You'll save a ton of time because we've packed everything for you. So, where to? Bali, Phuket, Gold Coast, Fiji. There's so much to choose from. To plan your trip, search Jetstar Holidays today.
Go from wet to dry with the new Shark Speed Style Rapid Gloss Finisher and Dryer. Create a high gloss finish in minutes with no heat damage. It's powerful, lightweight and delivers ultra-fast drying that is perfect for all hair kind. Shark Speed Style.
Time to take a look at what's making news in the entertainment world now, and Kendrick Lamar has no reason to stay humble today.
Be humble, hey. Sit down, be humble, sit down. Hello, where? 35 summers in the minute, stop thinking you forget about Dre.
The rapper will headline next year's Super Bowl halftime show. While this will be his first time performing solo on the NFL's biggest stage, he previously performed at the 2022 halftime show alongside Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Confirming the announcement online, Kendrick said, "Rap music is still the most impactful genre to date, and I'll be there to remind the world why."
And I'll be performing at Super Bowl 59. Will you be pulling up? I hope so. You know it's only one opportunity to win a championship. No round twos. Let's get it.
Throughout his career, Kendrick has won 17 Grammys and a Pulitzer Prize for music. The 2025 Super Bowl will take place in New Orleans on the 9th of February. Dick Van Dyke is not ready to hang up his acting hat just yet. The star celebrated a big win over the weekend at the Creative Arts Emmy Awards. Taking home the statue for Outstanding Variety Special, he won for his 2-hour birthday special, Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic. On the red carpet, the nonagenarian was asked how he wanted to be remembered.
For laughter. I hope we're making people laugh for 75 years. I've been in the business 75 years. I can't believe it. That I'm still here and performing. I'm looking for work if anybody.
Other big winners on the night include Angela Bassett and Alan Cumming. The Creative Arts Emmys take place 1 week before the Primetime Emmys. 99 accolades are handed out, honouring behind-the-scenes talent or reality and variety shows. After lighting up Venice, the who's who of Hollywood has descended on Toronto for the city's International Film Festival. Matt Damon, Jennifer Lopez, Amy Adams and even Elton John walked the festival's red carpet over the weekend. Sir Elton premiered the documentary Elton John Never Too Late, co-directed by his husband, David Furnish. It follows the singing superstar through his 50-year career, giving fans insight into some of his major performances and recordings, including how he ensured his song Can You Feel the Love Tonight was not cut from the Lion King soundtrack.
That's not too bad. And showed me a rough cut of the film, nearly finished film. And there was no Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And Jeffrey, where's Can You Feel the Love Tonight? He said, well, we just couldn't find a place for it. And I said, it's a love song. Every Disney animation film has a great love song. You really ought to reconsider this. And I was quite astonished that it wasn't there. Not her, just great surprise. Great.
Goodbye to appliances.
Hello, Appliances Online.
Good afternoon. Here's what's making news this Monday, the 9th of September. Breaking news in the search for the suspect who allegedly poured boiling hot coffee on a baby in Brisbane. 3 young children left fighting for their lives after being pulled from a house fire in Melbourne. An update from police. A shocking new report exposes the grim financial reality Queenslanders are facing. Plus, new polling reveals who voters are blaming for Australia's inflation woes. And $1 million reward as detectives try to crack the case of an infamous underworld execution.
This is 10 News First Afternoon with Angela Bishop.
Good afternoon. In developing news this afternoon, police are remaining tight-lipped over just who was in a Melbourne home when it caught fire overnight, leaving 3 children critically injured. The children were raced to hospital, with witnesses telling 10 News First there was no one else inside the home at the time of the blaze. Police say they've spoken to the mum but haven't confirmed just who was home at the time.
We're still working to determine who else may have been in the property with the children at the time of the fire, or if they were alone. Police have already spoken briefly to the mother of the 3 children. However, she is understandably quite distressed by the incident and remains at hospital with her children.
Police say the fire began at the rear of the property but are unable to confirm the cause at this stage. It's understood the family only moved into the property a week ago. In a major development this afternoon, Queensland Police have revealed a man wanted for pouring boiling hot coffee on a baby in a Brisbane park has fled the country. Matthew Carstoonan has the details.
Good afternoon. Police here in Queensland have just provided an update in the search for this man involved in this callous attack, pouring hot coffee on a 9-month-old baby in a Brisbane park. Detectives confirming this man has now fled the country, but police are far from giving up. An arrest warrant has been issued for this 33-year-old man. He is not from Australia, but is from another country. Detectives not revealing where exactly he is from, but saying the investigation so far has been complex and frustrating. We now have a timeline on these events. On the 27th of August, the offence is carried out. The man goes behind this family, pours boiling hot coffee on this baby boy, and is seen on CCTV running from the scene. A day later, the man then drives to Sydney in his car, and on the 31st of August, books an international flight bound for an unknown country, and on the same day leaves the country. It is extremely frustrating for police. On the 1st of September, around 12 hours after the man disappeared and left the country, they found a name and put a name to the face of the person they'd been looking for nearly a week.
What I'll say is the QPS are fully committed to do everything we possibly can lawfully to get this person back here to face justice.
Now, the man had travelled to and from Australia multiple times since 2019, either on a holiday visa or working visa. He also has multiple addresses in New South Wales and Victoria, but no known residences here in Queensland. He also does not have a criminal record. Now, this man has no family here in Australia, but detectives have been talking to his colleagues. It's understood the man has worked in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, and has been working in a various line of works. But what is really puzzling detectives at this stage is the motive. They do not know why this man carried out this heinous attack on a 9-month-old baby and are still continuing to look for him.
It's very early stages in the investigation still. Look, if Queensland Police have to send detectives overseas to do that, we will.
In 10 News First at 5 o'clock, we will hear from the baby boy's devastated family on their reaction to these developments.
Matthew Castunan there. A weighty report on the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide is this afternoon being tabled in Parliament. The report, 3 years in the making and made up from more than 6,000 submissions, was presented to the Governor-General this morning and tabled in Canberra moments ago. Those who headed up the inquiry now desperate for action to be taken.
Yes, there is an entity with enough power and resources to tackle the problems, they're simply going to persist. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect the result to come out different.
We'll have full details of the report on 10 News First at 5 tonight. And remember, if you need help, there are specific services for veterans, including Open Arms on 1800 011 046, as well as the Defence All Hours support line. Victorians will be able to keep cooking with gas in a backflip from the state's government. There are reports that a long-term plan to force homeowners to replace gas cookers with electric options was set to be considered as part of a shift away from fossil gas. But that's now been softened, and Premier Jacinta Allen says the state is still moving toward renewable energy, however acknowledges gas is still needed in the short term.
Some households want to keep cooking with gas, and we're saying today very clearly that can continue to be the case. But for those households who are considering going all electric, there is support there to do that.
The Premier is hopeful Victorians will make the switch to electrical appliances in order to save money on their energy bills. A 3-day hearing has begun to decide on the sentence for the driver behind the wheel of the bus which crashed in the Hunter Valley, killing 10 people. The judge has described the proceedings in Newcastle as unprecedented in scale. 25 others were injured when the coach, driven by Brett Button, rolled at a roundabout in June last year. Dozens of family members are giving victim impact statements to the court. A critical medicine shortage is putting expectant mothers suffering from blood pressure problems at risk. The only drugs registered safe for pregnant women are reportedly outdated and not as attractive for importers and pharmaceutical companies, which is slowing their distribution. Experts are attributing the issue to the systemic exclusion of pregnant women from clinical trials in new drugs.
All the agents we use for blood pressure in pregnancy are old. They're at least 30 years old. And the shortages have arisen because we haven't been able to include pregnant women in trials of new agents over this time. There's been a reluctance to do that.
Currently, there are more than 50 drugs available to treat high blood pressure for non-pregnant women, but only 6 accessible for the pregnant population. A shocking new report shows Queenslanders are skipping meals and missing medication to survive the cost of living crisis. Our reporter Bianca Carboni has more.
Angela, in a survey of more than 1,000 Queenslanders, 94% said they're concerned about the cost of living. The Queensland Council of Social Services Living Affordability Report shows a single parent's weekly budget is more than $150 in deficit. Single parents, unemployed people and students, as well as senior couples and couples with 2 children, all don't have enough money for unplanned emergencies. Homes are spending more than a third of their income on housing, and 70% of the survey participants said housing costs have risen in the past 6 months.
The report shows that we're seeing increasing costs in housing, in electricity, in food and in transport, and it is really difficult for families to make ends meet. This report makes it clear that in the lead up to the election, the issue our leaders should be focused on is cost of living.
QCOS is calling on the state government to extend cost of living relief and put caps on the cost of renting. Angela?
Bianca Carboni there. Victoria Police are offering a $1.1 million reward for information on the shooting of a known underworld figure. The 53-year-old was killed in the drive-by shooting attack in August last year, just metres from Melbourne's famous Chapel Street. Georgia Simpson has all the details.
It's been more than a year since Mohammed Keshtiar, or Afghan Ali, was gunned down on a Melbourne street, and now police are offering a 7-figure reward for information about the gangland execution. The 53-year-old was shot multiple times on Almeida Crescent in South Yarra at about 11:40 p.m. on August 4. Police say a stolen grey Toyota Prado drove up to Keshtiar and his friend, and that a passenger fired multiple shots. The passenger then got out and fired more shots at Keshtiar before driving off. The stolen SUV had distinctive hubcaps featuring a red letter M and the word monster. It was found burnt out early the next morning at Endeavour Hills. Despite witnesses trying to help, Keshtiar couldn't be saved and later died in hospital. Keshtiar was known to police and had links to several outlaw motorcycle gangs and other organised crime groups. Detective Inspector Dean Thomas said the assassination was deliberate and targeted. It's hoped the $1 million reward is enough to lure someone with information to come forward.
That $1 million is legitimate money that they can take away with them and create a new life with. And again, I think it is sufficient and it's substantial. And again, it's out there today, and we hope that anyone that hears this will come forward and share that information with us.
Police are keeping an open mind as to whether the people involved have fled interstate or overseas.
Georgia Simpson there. Voters are laying the blame on the federal government for Australia's ongoing inflation woes and not the Reserve Bank. Live to federal political reporter Lucy Gray. Lucy, how much pressure does this add?
And as we approach a cost of living election, it only adds to the weight on the Treasurer's shoulders. Now, new polling by Resolve Political Monitor shows 51% of voters believe it's the government's responsibility to tackle cost of living. Just 27% believe it's on the Reserve Bank. Now, the Reserve Bank decided against cutting the official cash rate at its last meeting. It argues inflation is still too high to do so at 3.8%. Now, it's drawn criticism from senior Labor members in recent days and weeks, including the Treasurer, who said sky-high interest rates were smashing the economy. This morning, Labor has sought to reassure Australians that it's doing all it can to assist.
We're still working hard on it, but we want Australians to earn more and keep more of what they're earning. The previous government said low wages were a deliberate design feature of their economic architecture.
Well, they're turning away from Labor in particular because this cost of living crisis has been created in this building.
Now, it's not all good news for the coalition, though. It's still neck and neck with the government after preferences, so that shows voters just aren't convinced on either major party.
Thanks, Lucy. Coming up today, a massive manhunt for a gunman who shot 5 people near a Kentucky highway. And a deadly terror shootout at a border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan. And who will be headlining the highly anticipated Super Bowl halftime show.
Introducing the Shark Cordless Detect Pro, featuring our most intuitive deep cleaning technologies, Floor Detect and Light Detect. Detect, react, capture, empty with the Shark Cordless Detect Pro.
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic.
Classic? The 77 Granny, that was a classic.
The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many
men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport. 1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft.
Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome. The Tillies and the Quarters.
96 premiers.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster?
You guys missed the old days, right?
No, we're good. Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
3 male Israeli civilians have been shot dead at a border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan. The gunman has been identified as a Jordanian man who was killed by the Israeli military during the shootout at the Allenby Bridge crossing. The IDF says the suspect approached them in a truck coming from Jordan before he exited the vehicle and unleashed a hail of bullets. Hamas says it's not responsible for the attack, but labelled it as a natural response to the war in Gaza.
The killers do not distinguish between us. They want to murder us all until the last one, right and left, secular and religious, Jews and non-Jews. What prevents the elimination of our people, as in the past, is the strength of the state of Israel and the strength of the IDF.
All of Israel's crossings with Jordan have been closed following the incident. It comes as large protests erupt in Jordan's capital, with thousands of demonstrators voicing support for the slain gunman while celebrating the deaths of Israeli civilians. A manhunt is underway in Kentucky for a person accused of shooting multiple people in their cars driving on a highway. Christian Benavides has the details.
As local and federal law enforcement officers search through thick woods for a highway shooter in southeastern Kentucky, they say an AR-15 semi-automatic weapon has been recovered.
If he planned this, it's so remote. That's probably one of the most remote exits along I-75. He couldn't have picked an area that is any more remote and difficult for us to try to locate him.
The victims have been shot through the windshield.
Late Saturday, officials found a silver SUV registered to Joseph Couch, the 32-year-old suspect, after someone shot at 9 vehicles and wounded 5 people on busy Interstate 75.
We don't want our guys to get hurt. We don't want any more of the public to be hurt, and we want to take him into custody safely. And it's a big task.
According to authorities, an individual who was off that exit fired multiple rounds into the lanes going in both directions. The shooter was not in a vehicle at the time.
They told us that we was not allowed to go that way because of the active shooter.
This nearby resident says getting home was a challenge because of road closures.
It's literally in the heart of our own city, so it's very heartbreaking.
Officials say Couch, described as 5'10" and about 150 pounds, could still be armed and dangerous. The Laurel County Rescue Squad has a drone searching along with a helicopter. Only one individual was believed to be involved in the shooting, which authorities are calling a random act.
Christian Benavides there. King Charles has marked the 2nd anniversary of the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, at a church service near Balmoral. Charles was seen arriving at the church of Crathie Kirk with Queen Camilla. The monarch has been spending the summer in the Scottish Highlands. US rapper Kendrick Lamar will headline next year's Super Bowl halftime show. While this will be his first time performing solo on the NFL's biggest stage, he previously performed at the 2022 halftime show alongside Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre.
And I'll be performing at Super Bowl 59. Will you be pulling up? I hope so. You know it's only one opportunity to win a championship. No round twos. Let's get it.
Throughout his career, Kendrick has won 17 Grammys and a Pulitzer Prize for his music. The 2025 Super Bowl will take place in New Orleans on the 9th of February. Up next, I'll look at all the weather with 10 News First meteorologist Josh Holt. Plus, Yannick Sinner opens up about his epic Grand Slam win. And here's what else is coming up in your local 10 News First at 5.
With so many holiday homes on Booking.com, there are so many Tina Feys I could be. So I hired body doubles.
Wild Tina, the apartment.
Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic.
Classic. The 77 Granny, that was a classic. The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many
men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport.
1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft. Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome. The Tillies and the Quarters.
96 premieres.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster?
You guys missed the old days, right?
No, we're good. Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Go from wet to dry with the new Shark Speed Style Rapid Gloss Finisher and Dryer. Create a high gloss finish in minutes with no heat damage. It's powerful, lightweight and delivers ultra-fast drying that is perfect for all hair kind. Shark Speed Style. 7:30 Wednesday, it's big laughs as Ray O'Leary, Susie Youssef, Virginia Gay and Lloyd Langford go through the blue door on Thank God You're Here.
Welcome back. It's time now for a check of the weather with 10 News First meteorologist Josh Holt. Josh, it's been a nice start to the week.
Yeah, it's been absolutely picture perfect out there for Monday and across a large portion of Australia. As we take a look at the satellite imagery, you may look at this cloud and think, you little beauty, I've got a bit of rain on the way to my place. Not the case. In fact, producing little or no rainfall, that mid to high level cloud. Likewise, across the southern part to WA, the odd spit and spat, but nothing overly drenching into the gauges there. Most of the activity has been through the western areas of Tasmania today, thanks to this band of westerlies. We call this the Roaring 40s, just below the high pressure ridge there across southern Australia. So as we get through Tuesday tomorrow, we've got a dominant area of high pressure over New South Wales, trough through inland Queensland, not really providing anything in the way of rain, and a high edging over the southwest of WA. In terms of the rain, very similar to what we did see today, those western areas of Tasmania, seeing some showers there, thanks to that flow of westerly winds. Slight chance of a shower for areas of the southeast coast in Queensland and the northeast tropical coast, but apart from that, it should be dry for most areas. So a shower or two for Brisbane and a top of 26 degrees as we get through Tuesday. Sydney, partly cloudy with a top of 22, a sunny day in Canberra, partly cloudy, dry Melbourne and Adelaide with a tip top of 20 degrees. 23 also remaining dry for Perth on Tuesday. 30 degrees, partly cloudy for Alice Springs, sunny skies for Darwin with 35, but of course all the local weather details coming up in all our bulletins from 5 p.m, Ange.
Thanks, Josh. To some breaking news now out of rugby league, with Josh Addo-Carr allegedly failing a roadside drug test over the weekend. The Daily Telegraph is reporting the Bulldogs winger was stopped by officers on Friday evening when he allegedly returned a positive indication for cocaine. He's not been charged with any offence, with further testing to take place. The club has been notified, though they are said to be unclear on the outcome of the test. Addo-Carr didn't play last weekend, but is due to return for the Bulldogs finals campaign. We'll have more on this story as it develops. The allegations come on the same day the NRL launched its final series. With the top 8 teams locked in, representatives gathered in front of the Sydney Harbour for the series launch.
This year we've had 133 million views on television, making us officially Australia's most watched sport. An incredible testament to the loyalty of our fans, both live at the games and on television.
The Panthers host the Roosters in the first game on Friday night. Lion Jack Payne has been cleared of a potential knee injury after getting it scanned today. The defender was subbed off with knee soreness in Brisbane's 28-point win over Carlton and is a chance to play GWS this week. Toby Bedford claims he's also fit for selection. Their narrow loss to Sydney has him chomping at the bit to return. The Socceroos take on Indonesia tomorrow ahead of their next World Cup qualifying group match. Coach Graham Arnold has acknowledged it's like a grand final for the side now. 10 football commentator Robbie Thompson has more from Jakarta.
After last Thursday's upset loss to Bahrain, the Socceroos take on Indonesia tomorrow night in what already looms as a must-win World Cup qualifier. The importance not lost on Coach Graham Arnold.
It's a grand final. It's very important to go out there and get 3 points. I think that obviously the Bahrain performance was, on my view, I was very disappointed, and I'm looking for a strong reaction tomorrow night.
Young defender Alessandro Ciccati making no bones about the need for a vastly improved performance against their hosts.
They're sitting a 5-4-1 with, and like to play on the counter-attack with some quick offensive players. I think our job is to try to drag them out and find holes, and that's where being creative and maybe being a bit more brave.
Ranked 133rd in the world, Indonesia have beaten the Socceroos just once in 16 previous meetings, and that was back in 1981. Australia won 4-0 at the Asian Cup last January, but Arnold is expecting a much-changed opposition tomorrow.
They're definitely not the same looking side. Even their Olympic team got to a playoff position. They're a strong side. It's all about us being patient and having the right mindset.
With continental powerhouses Japan and Saudi Arabia still to come in the third round of World Cup qualifying, 3 points absolutely essential in Jakarta tomorrow night.
And you can see the Socceroos take on Indonesia live and exclusive on Paramount Plus tomorrow night from 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Jannik Sinner has been crowned the US Open men's champion after downing local Taylor Fritz in straight sets. This crowd with some of the biggest names in sport and entertainment watching on. And that's the latest news for this Monday, the 9th of September. I'm Angela Bishop. Join us for more at 10 News First at 5. Until then, have a great afternoon.
Hello, Appliances Online.
Tonight, an almost impossible ask for the families of victims killed in the Hunter Valley bus crash. Confronting the driver that fateful night at Greta and finding the words to describe their pain and loss as Brett Button awaits sentencing. With 3 deaths every fortnight, enough is enough. A damning report demands changes inside our Defence Force to finally end veteran suicide. Fears of more delays for your trip home after a cracked track at Central causes chaos across the train network. Jobs are piling up inside hospitals, so too the grievances of nurses. Tomorrow, they're walking off the job to give the Premier a piece of their mind. Plus, breaking news in the NRL with one high-profile bulldog under investigation by police over claims of drug driving. And it's overshadowed the launch of a blockbuster final series. We'll tell you who the captains are picking to win this year's premiership.
Made in Sydney. This is 10 News First with Sandra Sully.
Good evening. The grief-stricken families of 10 passengers killed in last year's Hunter wedding bus crash have expressed their devastation to a court as the driver responsible awaits sentencing. Brett Button has admitted to dangerous driving that fateful night when court papers revealed he'd been affected by painkillers.
10 families share a heartbreak that's difficult to put into words, but they've had to try for a court. Also listening was Brett Button, the bus driver who crashed at a roundabout at Greta, claiming lives and changing others in June last year. The first of dozens of victim impact statements have been read by the families of couple Linen and Andrew Scott. Every fibre of my body will not let go of this, said Linen's mother. Though my mind knows that they are gone, my heart cannot accept the loss. Darcy Bullman's family also understands this grief. Her mother now wears her watch. It reminds me that time continues ticking away, and whatever time I have left will be time spent without her in it. Button, the driver responsible, admitted in May to 35 offences, including 10 counts of dangerous driving causing death. The guilty pleas were entered in exchange for manslaughter charges being dropped. Ms. Bullman's partner, Nick Danakis, was also on board the bus. My life is no longer for living, but more about survival. From Nadine and Kaya McBride's husband and father, my girls are the most important thing in my life, which has now been taken from me. In a packed courtroom, the judge who will ultimately sentence Button acknowledged the highly sensitive nature of the proceedings, while also telling the court justice is not about revenge, but about accountability, deterrence and punishment. Angus Craig's sister says she's angry at a man who got behind the wheel knowing that his ability to drive was impaired. Grieving family members have addressed Button directly too. I'm broken, but despite this, I don't hate you, but I hate the choices you made, said Rebecca Mullen's father. The void will never be filled and I will fight for change, to honour Beck. More families will share their words tomorrow. Alice Hogg for 10 News First.
Australia needs a permanent and new body to oversee fundamental reforms of the nation's Defence Force. That is the key recommendation of a Royal Commission, which has found that the culture inside Defence contributes to persistently high rates of suicide among people drawn to serve the nation in uniform.
Watched by Julianne Finney, whose Navy son David took his own life, the final report of the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide has landed.
This will be a difficult day for many Australians.
Nearly 2,000 veterans and serving military members have taken their own lives since 1997, one every 5 days, more than 20 times the number killed on operations or in training.
None of the problems we've uncovered are actually new. It's simply been neglected.
Declaring a failure of defence leadership, the Royal Commissioners say 57 previous inquiries with nearly 800 recommendations have failed to shift the dial.
It's really up to the government and our parliament now.
Among the recommendations, expanded healthcare services for veterans, future defence leaders to be selected in part on their emotional intelligence, and a permanent new entity to oversee reform of the whole defence ecosystem.
Unless there is an entity with enough power and resources to tackle the problems, they're simply going to persist.
12 of the 122 recommendations deal with sexual violence, with women in defence more than twice as likely to take their lives as a civilian population.
Sexual violence in military is, in our experience, far more common than it should be.
The report lands as Defence grapples with a separate crisis, a struggle to recruit or retain people. We're supposed to be building up our numbers as we face an increasingly dangerous strategic environment. Instead, we are thousands of people short of where Defence knows we need to be, making internal Defence reform urgent.
Defence will continue to be punished with people who do not want to join until it is fixed.
The government will thoroughly consider every recommendation. We want to work across the parliament on these issues.
Hugh Remington for 10 News First.
And remember, if you need help, there are specific services for veterans, including Open Arms on 1800 011 046, as well as the Defence All Hours support line. The Federal Treasurer is under increasing pressure over his stoush with the Reserve Bank and the state of the economy. Parliament has returned for the week and the Coalition has taken aim at Jim Chalmers, but the opposition had its own mess to clean up, a proposal to break up Qantas.
Some puppy love for the Prime Minister.
Yeah, look at that.
And a rare pause in hostilities.
It is very therapeutic.
As the contest over how to curb cost of living heads sky high.
Cost of living is killing everyone, and that includes being able to afford a ticket to go see family and friends.
The National Senator insists airfares are too expensive because there's a lack of competition. She's floated the idea of divestiture powers so Qantas could be forced to sell off Jetstar.
Well, this is the start of a process around understanding the aviation sector.
So it's not the Coalition's agreed policy.
You would think any serious political party would have thought deeply about such a significant policy.
But crippling costs are dominating the conversation on Capitol Hill.
Can the Treasurer confirm that Australia has been in a household recession?
Those opposite were desperate for the economy to go into recession because it serves their political purposes.
Politics have been at play over who is to blame for the current economic situation.
The Treasurer accused the RBA of smashing the economy. Why is the government fighting the Reserve Bank?
When it comes to inflation, a new poll reveals 51% hold the government and Treasurer responsible for keeping inflation down, compared to 27% who believe it's the Reserve Bank's. This is a sobering but not surprising reminder for Labor that voters look to the government of the day for answers. And at the moment, it's clear the government's messaging isn't reassuring, which only works in the opposition's favour. But in one area, female representation, Labor beats the Liberals every time.
The Albanese Labor government is the first Australian parliament to have a majority women government ever.
I look at this side of the House. We need to do better.
It's been 30 years since Labor adopted affirmative action quotas, so that's something the government can celebrate. Ashley Raper for 10 News First.
If you're heading home by train this evening, it could be wise to plan ahead after a broken track sparked some significant delays across the entire network. The damaged rail forced the closure of the T1 line this morning, and that led to packed stations and plenty of trains arriving late. Although Transport for New South Wales has confirmed that the track has now been repaired, it is warning commuters tonight to prepare for continued disruptions. In some breaking news now, and an industrial relations court has just ordered nurses across the state not to strike tomorrow, but it does appear likely that they will walk off the job in defiance. The government says it's ready for the strike over pay, but has warned people to avoid hospitals unless it's an emergency.
Linen is piling up in the state's hospitals as nurses refuse to do roles not in their job descriptions. And tomorrow they'll converge on Chris Minns' electoral office in their fight for fairer pay.
We're also fighting for the government to not treat us with disrespect and throw us under the bus.
The Premier is happy to pay for Betty and Dorothy, the tunnel machines creating Metro West, today backing in expensive extensions.
Well, the increased costs in comparison to the previous government's project will have to do with extra stations, but I'll cop that.
Sensitive cabinet documents have revealed the price tag for a new metro station at Rosehill Racecourse would be as much as $2.2 billion. The Premier says it's worth it.
If it were up to me and we could pursue it from an engineering point of view, there'd be way more stations on that line.
Perhaps over-promising stations, but under-delivering on homes. The latest forecast from Master Builders predicts New South Wales will fall short of its 2029 housing target by 74,000 homes, worse than its April figure of 29,000. The sluggish pace of housing construction is driven by high labour costs and a lack of apprentices, but isn't helped by striking electrical trade union members refusing to connect power to construction sites.
We are getting reports from builders that the connection or the certificates for the connection are at an all-time low.
I am frustrated at anything that stands in the way of delivering the housing that we need.
A pipeline that needs major progress now. Sarah Naven for 10 News First.
Disgraced former Channel 7 game show host Andrew O'Keefe has failed to overturn his convictions for what the judge today called a degrading attack on a woman. But there was one rare win in court for the 52-year-old.
Looking decidedly dapper, Andrew O'Keefe was back to court.
Sense of anticipation, obviously.
Are you tired of coming to Downing Centre?
Look, it's a lovely place to be, of course, but I prefer it wasn't me, yeah.
2 hours later, he emerged defeated. His appeal against domestic violence convictions lost.
It's not surprising that I lost this appeal because the prosecution is granted privilege after privilege after privilege in the way that they collect and present evidence.
It's been 3 years since he was arrested for punching, kicking and spitting at his then partner. Today told the majority of males in our community do not act in this fashion. They do not spit at people in their eye. His excuses for his partner's bruises and scratches rejected. The judge said the concept she was a lying, evil person who had self-inflicted injuries to set up O'Keefe was not supported on the day. In fact, she was reluctant to call 000 and reluctant to have charges laid against him. To me, she is someone dealing with the difficult balance of going down that path again, being a complainant in a domestic violence matter, which is not enjoyable, not easy. The ex-game show host knows all about wins and losses, and today he had both, winning his appeal against a drug conviction.
Well, obviously I was acquitted of the possession of those drugs on the basis that I wasn't in possession of them.
Ali Donaldson for 10 News First.
More damaging headlines in rugby league late today, and the timing simply couldn't be worse. Matt Burke is here now with much more. G'day, Matt.
Good evening, Sandra. Well, at the start of finals week, it's been revealed Bulldog star Josh Addo-Carr is the subject of a police investigation after allegedly driving with cocaine in his system. Samara Gardner joins us now, and Samara, police claim he failed a roadside drug test.
That is what police are saying. The NRL star was pulled over by police on Friday evening on Baywater Drive, Wentworth Point. Officers conducted a roadside drug test and they allege it returned a positive indication for cocaine. Now, that sample has been sent for further analysis. The result of that will, of course, determine whether charges are laid. When contacted this afternoon, the Bulldogs said they wouldn't be commenting further, but the club's general manager, Phil Gould, has posted on X calling this allegation a rumour. He says the roadside drug test results were negative. That's very clearly different to the police's position. All of this couldn't have happened at a worse time ahead of the NRL finals. The Bulldogs play their first finals game since 2016 against the Sea Eagles on Sunday.
Thank you, Samara. Now, the drama has cast an unsavoury shadow over the launch of the NRL finals series today. With the top 8 teams locked in and all vying for premiership glory, one side has the others watching their backs.
8 finalists and a quintessential Sydney backdrop, but it's a Melbourne Storm that's looming large.
Storms are up there past everyone else. They've been the most consistent team all year and they'll be pretty hard to beat. They've been the dominant side all year. I guess the Storm finished first, so I might back against the Storm.
They might be the minor premiers, but Melbourne knows that from now on, it counts for nothing.
It's new competition in finals and we've probably learned our lessons from 2021 where we were really dominant that year and didn't quite finish the job.
Hoping to first take a bite out of the Sharks, Penrith are eyeing off a four-peat. Their first hurdle, the Roosters.
We have a lot of confidence in between our four walls, so I think that's the only thing that really mattered.
Former Panther Stephen Crichton knows all about premiership pressure. Now he's guiding the Bulldogs, playing finals for the first time in 8 years.
The stakes are high now. It's do or die every game, and you kind of have to step up and kind of nail every moment.
First stop, taking on Manly.
We're here now and we've got to play our best like we have through stages of the season.
The Knights yesterday grabbing the last spot on offer.
I don't think many people have given us a chance throughout the year. I don't think many people had us in the 8.
Newcastle now head north.
It's finals time now, so we just got to put everything on the line together.
It's very unpredictable, isn't it? And we've got some enticing football. I think we're in for a few upsets.
In 4 weeks, we'll know. Nina Stevens for 10 News First.
Well, who can hold their nerve? That is the big question. Also coming up in sport, the Socceroos will be looking for a much improved performance as they plot the next step in their World Cup qualifying campaign. While at the Giants, Toby Bedford is back and ready to shut down Brisbane's best player. And 2 Grand Slams in the 1 year. An Italian, right, Sandra? All that coming up in sport a little later.
Terrific. See you then. Thank you, Matt. Still to come, the search for a man wanted over an horrific attack on a baby in Brisbane goes global. Paralympian Madison De Rosario's heartbreaking revelation after winning silver on the last day of the Paralympics. And US rap star Kendrick Lamar's big Super Bowl announcement.
Poppy just opened heritage savings accounts for the great-grandkids, all 15 of us.
I'm saving for my first house.
First business.
Chickens! Thank you very much! Where did chickens go?
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic.
Classic? The 77 Granny, that was a classic. The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport.
1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft. Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome. The Tillies and the quarters.
96 premiers.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster? You guys missed the old days, right?
No, we're good.
Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Go from wet to dry with the new Shark Speed Style Rapid Gloss Finisher and Dryer. Create a high gloss finish in minutes with no heat damage. It's powerful, lightweight and delivers ultra-fast drying that is perfect for all hair kind. Shark Speed Style.
Allcastle Homes Newport Duplex. 10 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. 2 homes with downstairs bedroom and bathroom. Live in one, rent one. From $899,995.
Make it Allcastle Homes.
Good evening. A bus breakdown causing quite a bit of trouble coming through Villawood right now. This is southbound for Woodville Road on the approach to Villawood Road. You can see it taking out the right lane here for that through run. Crews are on site. Extensive delays now building back to Guildford at Rawson Road. In keeping with the area and theme of breakdowns, Bass Hill, watch out for a truck breakdown eastbound along the Hume Highway. And to the southwest as well, a very busy peak hour run westbound on the M5 motorway from the River Road out towards the Preston's interchange, but clear for the Hume motorway southbound. I'm Brittany Gorrell, thanks to the Allcastle Homes Traffic Chopper.
One of Queensland's most wanted criminals has managed to flee the country. The 33-year-old is accused of pouring boiling coffee on a baby in Brisbane almost a fortnight ago, and police have revealed that the suspect knew he was being tracked and managed to elude capture by running his own surveillance on investigators. He flew out of Sydney a week ago. Police won't reveal his name or where he went.
We've got 30 detectives working for me. They're devastated that they missed this person by 12 hours. I think only the family would be more upset about that.
The injured baby has undergone 5 surgeries since the attack. He'll need more as his burns heal. The Paralympics have come to a close with a huge dance party for athletes in Paris. Australia's final medal was the silver in the marathon. It was won by wheelchair racer Madison De Rosario, who revealed a tragic secret that she'd been keeping from the rest of the Aussie team.
Waving goodbye to competition, Team Australia donning ponchos for a Paris party in the pouring rain. Fireworks, 24 DJs, and a wild light show in Stade de France. Closing out,
the most spectacular Paralympic Games ever!
The flame extinguished, the flag handed from Paris to LA, the world's Paralympians letting their hair down after putting on a spectacular show of their own.
If we heart you sent racing, you change how people see sport and how they see disability.
Wheelchair racer Madison De Rosario won Australia's final medal, silver in the marathon, revealing one big challenge.
It's been a really tough week.
She'd chosen to keep from everyone but her coach.
My dad passed away the day of the opening ceremony.
It was the day she carried the nation's flag down the Champs-Élysées. But pulling out and heading home, she says, would have broken her.
I think if I could have picked anyone other than my sisters to spend time with, it is genuinely our Paralympic team.
Australia leaves Paris with 18 gold medals, 17 silver and 28 bronze, finishing 9th on the medal tally, which was won by China. It's our lowest ranking in 36 years. One our Paralympic bosses blame on funding, which has recently been boosted, as para-athletes demand much bigger change.
Appreciation and applause must be followed by acceptance and action.
That, they say, will truly be worth celebrating. Daniel Sutton for 10 News First.
US rapper Kendrick Lamar is heading to the Super Bowl after revealing on Instagram that he would be next year's halftime entertainment. The singer is perhaps best known for his track Humble.
Sit down, be humble. Sit down, be humble. Sit down, be humble.
It is Lamar's second time performing at the Super Bowl, having previously starred in 2022 alongside Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg and Eminem. The NFL finale will take place in New Orleans on the 9th of February. Time now for a quick check on the weather with our own meteorologist, Josh Holt. Josh, how's the week shaping up?
Well, it doesn't look too bad at this stage, Sandra, and for a pretty good day tomorrow, but we do have a little bit of shower activity later this week. I'll touch on that in a moment. 26 degrees, an absolute Sydney stunner out there today. That was after an overnight low of 13. Let's now check out the satellite imagery. You will notice a bit of cloud cover here over the north, producing little or no rainfall, but we've had a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity in the far northeast corner. As a result, around about 14 millimetres falling across areas of the northern rivers. Tomorrow, we've got a trough of low pressure in and across areas of the northeast as a high pressure system looms over the southern part of Australia. Temperature-wise, 23 degrees for Coffs today, 20 in Tamworth and 21 in Dubbo. We hit 18 in Wagga and 19 degrees in Canberra. Out west today, 26, a popular number. Penrith and Richmond hitting that mark this afternoon, along with Parramatta. We hit 25 degrees in Bankstown, 24 degrees in Campbelltown this afternoon, but we are expecting some cooler temperatures later in the week as the southerly change pushes through. It will also deliver some showers, and I'll have all those details coming up at around about 5 to 6, Sandra.
Terrific. See you then. Thank you, Josh. Up next, the latest violence in the Middle East with 3 Israelis shot dead. Kamala Harris's blunt message to reporters ahead of her highly anticipated debate with Donald Trump. Also, the plea from Pope Francis to remote communities in Papua New Guinea.
Go from wet to dry with the new Shark Speed Style Rapid Gloss Finisher and Dryer. Create a high gloss finish in minutes with no heat damage. It's powerful, lightweight and delivers ultra-fast drying that is perfect for all hair kind. Shark Speed Style.
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic.
Classic. The 77 Granny, that was a classic. The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many
men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport.
1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft. Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome. The Tillies and the Quarters.
96 premiers.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster? You guys missed the old days, right?
No, we're good. Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Greenman and Poppy just opened heritage savings accounts for the great-grandkids, all 15 of us. I'm saving for my first house. First business. Chickens!
Thank you very much.
Let the chickens go.
You do soaps your way with Template. Fast Track, Bold and the Beautiful, The Young and the Restless, and Days of Our Lives. You deserve that. Template, the home of soaps.
She's a truly radical left lunatic.
If you got something to say,
for the heart of America. Their first debate. Live on 10 Play and YouTube at 10:55 a.m. There are renewed fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East after 3 Israelis were shot dead at a border crossing between Jordan and the West Bank. Benjamin Netanyahu has branded the gunman a terrorist, but he's being praised as a hero by some in Jordan who say it is revenge for Israel's war on Gaza.
From before dawn, Israel was under attack. Hezbollah launched a barrage of rockets from Lebanon, but almost all were intercepted. By daybreak, there was a new deadly threat at this border crossing between Jordan and the West Bank. A Jordanian truck driver launched a shooting rampage, killing 3 Israeli security guards. Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned the attack, saying we are surrounded by a murderous ideology. The killers do not distinguish between us. They want to murder us all. Israel and Jordan signed a peace pact in 1994, but Jordan has been deeply critical of Israel's war on Gaza and its treatment of Palestinians. In Amman, hundreds of people celebrated the fatal shooting. The Jordanian gunman, a former soldier, hailed a hero. We are happy because we got a bit of justice for the blood of the children who are gone, this woman says. In Gaza, an Israeli airstrike hit a home in a refugee camp, killing several members of the same family, including 2 girls. The border checkpoint shooting further inflaming tensions as a grim milestone approaches 1 year since the October 7 attacks. John Paul Gonzo for 10 News First.
It is now just 2 days until Kamala Harris faces off against Donald Trump in the US presidential debate, and she says she's ready for the showdown. The Democrat candidate has been in Pennsylvania at the weekend as she prepares for the crucial clash.
Are you ready, Madam Vice President?
Ready. It is a high-stakes event with Kamala effectively tied in the polls against the Republican candidate Donald Trump. A recent poll had Trump up by 1 percentage point, meaning a win for either candidate is within reach. Pope Francis is continuing his Southeast Asia tour, arriving in East Timor following a weekend in Papua New Guinea. 20,000 worshippers gathered to meet His Holiness in Papua New Guinea, where he urged them to end tribal rivalries and violence. The 12-day tour is the longest tour the Pope's been on and will end in Singapore later this week. King Charles has chosen to honour his mother's death with a private prayer at a church in Scotland. The King and his wife, Queen Camilla, attended the Balmoral Church near the royal estate to commemorate the 2nd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's passing. The pair have been spending summer in the Highlands, where the late monarch died back in 2022. Earlier in the week, the royals were seen to be in good spirits at a local event featuring bagpipes and Highland dancing. Still to come, what's behind a concerning supply shortfall of medication for pregnant women? Also, how turtle tunnels are creating a space for some of Australia's cutest animals.
Get race ready. The new Mario Kart Happy Meal has arrived in Macca's.
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic.
Classic? The 77 Granny, that was a classic. The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many
men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport.
1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft. Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome. The Tillies and the quarters.
96 premiers.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster?
You guys missed the old days, right?
No, we're good.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Go from wet to dry ultra fast with the new Shark Speed Style Rapid Gloss Finisher and High Velocity Dryer. Create a high gloss finish in minutes with no heat damage. Simply attach any of the 5 stylers and the Shark Speed Style will intelligently adjust the heat and airflow settings for smooth styling with no guesswork. It's powerful, lightweight and delivers ultra fast drying that is perfect for all hair kind. Shark Speed Style.
At Allcastle Homes, we understand the need to maximise rental returns. Flexible living options with up to 12 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms and 3 media rooms. That gives you potential for amazing rental returns. See the duplex range at Allcastle Homes.
Good evening. It's been quite an afternoon for heavy vehicle breakdowns. A bus breakdown in Villawood still causing some very heavy southbound pressure for Woodville Road. Now over to Northmead where we have a truck breakdown. It's been stuck here on Windsor Road for quite some time, causing delays for your southbound run. The left-hand lane are blocked off just on the approach to Churchill Drive. Queues well and truly back over the M2 motorway into Balcombe Hills as a result. Just that one lane is edging past the site. And for the M2 motorway coming into Balcombe Hills, a very slow westbound run towards Windsor Road. I'm Brittany Gorrell, thanks to the Allcastle Homes Traffic Chopper.
Health professionals are warning of a critical supply shortage of life-saving drugs for pregnant women. They say the issue highlights the need for fresh clinical trials to find some new and safe medications during pregnancy.
Donna Teleska is a mother of one with another on the way.
Thank you.
And understands the importance of accessible medication during a pregnancy.
I think it's extremely important. I know for me it is anyway. I just want to know that I'm being looked after.
Access to those medications could be under threat. New research published in the Medical Journal of Australia says several crucial blood pressure drugs are in short supply.
It's not like they've stopped manufacture. It's just that they're not necessarily appealing to be imported into Australia. When there are supply shortages or when it just doesn't make commercial sense, these can be taken off the market.
They're often prescribed to prevent preeclampsia. If left untreated, it can be deadly to both mother and baby.
If any one of these agents is suddenly sort of withdrawn from the market, we're then left scrambling to try to find alternatives.
In the past 30 years, there have been no new blood pressure drugs approved to use during pregnancy. That's because there have been no clinical trials to test the safety and efficacy of new medications.
Of all of the medications we use to treat blood pressure, there's only 6 that are proven to be safe in pregnancy for women.
Experts say to prevent shortages of critical medications, more clinical trials should be conducted with pregnant women to gather data for potential alternatives.
It's really important that we remove those barriers to participation in clinical trials so we can develop new agents that we know are safe and effective.
At the end of the day, it's what can help you and support you and also help you recover after pregnancy.
Jack Perry for 10 News First.
Conservationists reintroducing the endangered eastern quoll to mainland Australia have faced a rather unexpected hurdle. Fencing that protects the marsupials from predators has now put another native species at risk. And so they've been forced to get creative, constructing an impressive tunnel network inside a national park on the south coast.
The same time Sydney-siders get used to the new metro tunnels, eastern long-necked turtles are learning to navigate a different type of tunnel system just installed near Jervis Bay.
So these guys migrate around this area between the swamps and they migrate into the lake on the other side of this fence.
They do that now through these bath-looking water-filled tunnels installed along a 4-kilometre fence that snakes through the Burraree National Park.
It's got a mesh lid and a grate that goes down through the middle to allow turtles to swim under it, but not allow foxes and other species to get into it.
The fence was initially installed to protect the eastern quolls reintroduced here from predators. The tunnels now ensuring native turtles can have safe crossing. So far, it's been a success, even doubling as a day spa for other native animals.
So we've had echidnas bathing in them, rolling around in them. We've had gang cockatoos drinking from them. We've had eastern quolls inquisitively looking into them.
The tunnels continue to be monitored. Samara Gardner for 10 News First.
Stick around, Matt Burke is back. He's got the day's top stories in sport right after this.
Race into Macca's, because Mario Kart has arrived in a new Happy Meal. Collect all 10 races, available for a limited time. The new Mario Kart Happy Meal, only at Macca's.
Classic. The 77 Granny, that was a classic. The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know. Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many
men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport.
1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft. Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome.
The Tillies and the quarters.
96 premiers.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster? You guys missed the old days, right?
No, we're good. Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Go from wet to dry with the new Shark Speed Style Rapid Gloss Finisher and Dryer. Create a high gloss finish in minutes with no heat damage. It's powerful, lightweight and delivers ultra fast drying that is perfect for all hair kind. Shark Speed Style.
Good evening. Well, all of a sudden, just 8 teams remain in the NRL Premiership race, each with their own motivations. In Penrith, all eyes are on Nathan Cleary, with teammates confident he'll overcome a shoulder injury and join the side on their quest for 4 straight titles.
Gearing up for one last ride, Jerome Luai's time in Penrith is almost over.
It's been a bit of a challenge, knowing, your sort of junior club, your time sort of coming to an end, but I think this just makes you embrace the day more.
The big question, will his co-driver take his seat? Nathan Cleary training in plain sight today. A statement of sorts, he's ready for the Roosters.
He's, if not, the best player in the game, and, whenever he does lace the boots up, he's going to add a lot to our side.
He's a very, very tough individual, Nathan, and he can push through a lot.
Not many people give you a chance out there in Penrith. Does that drive you?
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad. We're happy to be underdogs. We have a lot of confidence in between our 4 walls, so I think that's the only thing that really matters.
Form matters in finals too, and the Bulldogs are lacking bite. After reading into their own hype, the Dogs have lost 2 straight.
I think it just brought us back down a bit. There was a lot of noise around us as well coming into finals, and it's good to have a loss. There's a little blessing in disguise.
One of those losses, Manly, but the same blueprint won't work twice.
If we are silly enough to rock up with the same game plan, I think we'll get our pants pulled down.
All teams now changing the game plan to claim the ultimate prize and chase clear favourites, the Storm.
Probably deserved it throughout the year, really. I think we've been really good, but at the same time, it's a new competition in finals.
Let the new season begin. Trent Simpson for 10 News First.
Toby Bedford says he's ready to shut down Lions star Lachie Neale in Saturday's knockout final. He's back for the Giants after being tortured by having to watch their narrow loss to the Swans.
Toby Bedford, Space Invader, keen to get in the face of Brisbane's best player.
But in terms of the midfield, obviously they've got a 2-time Brownlow medalist in Lachie Neale, and he's had an unbelievable season as well. So, like I said, if I'm selected and if the job's a tag and if it's on him, I'll give that my best shot.
Bedford on Neale was part of a winning game plan against the Lions last month. Toby returns from a calf injury, having sat through the agonising loss to the Swans.
Almost torture watching on the weekend. So, I just wanted to be out there to try and help the boys as much as I could. So keen and so excited to hopefully help the boys.
The Giants, on a different path than planned, still believe the grand final is their ultimate destination.
100%. You could see we took it to them to 3 quarters, and they're the benchmark. So I think we can easily beat anyone on any given day.
They've all come in today with great moods and ready to go again. And I think Toby Green sent out a text as well saying, this is another week. We need to move on from that, and it's time to go again.
Aaron Cadman's emerged
emergence a headache for the Lions. The 20-year-old with 3 goals in his first finals game, matching his haul against Brisbane in round 22.
They're going to be a bit more wary about me, and hopefully that takes a bit of pressure off the other forwards and also Darcy as well. So, yeah, hopefully we can all get a lick this time, and hopefully it won't come down to the wire like it did.
Clearly they've got a really dangerous forward line, as you mentioned. Jesse Hogan's been in unbelievable form, and we'll go to work this week to try and work out a good plan.
Bence Hammerley for 10 News First.
Well, it's a pivotal match for the Socceroos when they take on Indonesia tomorrow in what promises to be a hostile environment. Here's 10 football commentator Robbie Thompson with a team in Jakarta.
The Socceroos have landed in Jakarta ahead of their massive World Cup qualifier against Indonesia on Tuesday night. The first job for Alessandro Ceccarti and co is to get used to the conditions.
So far so good. We've obviously here being quite hot and quite humid. We've gotten used to that. We've had 2 good training sessions, good standards, and the boys are ready to go for Tuesday night, and I think we're all guns firing.
He may be just 20 years of age and has only 3 caps for his country, but young defender Alessandro Ceccarti, who plays his football in Italy for Parma, was surprised to find he's got a number of fans here in Indonesia.
Yesterday after training there was about 20 or 30 of them with all Parma fans and Parma shirts and gear and things like that, so it's great. I think someone can't complain about that.
Not sure that love will extend to cheering on the Socceroos at the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium tomorrow night. But Ceccarti isn't intimidated by the 80,000 plus crowd expected.
Yeah, I think that's my cup of tea. That's my favourite way to play. Sort of fires me on, gets me going a bit more than what maybe other crowds would do. Even better to play away from home sometimes.
A hostile crowd, 28 degrees Celsius expected, but 80% humidity tomorrow night. Perfect ingredients for a backs-to-the-wall Aussie DNA performance.
Indeed, and you can see the Socceroos take on Indonesia live and exclusive on Paramount Plus tomorrow night from 9:30 p.m. Well, Jannik Sinner has crushed American Taylor Fritz in just 2 hours and 15 minutes to win the US Open. And his second, Miami star Tyreek Hill had quite the day in the NFL. He was arrested for a driving violation ahead of the game and then involved in the day's most spectacular touchdown as the Dolphins took down the Jaguars. And the handcuff celebration, no doubt prompted by his pre-race arrest. Now, as far as team mascots go, this one flies high above the rest. Atlanta's Freddie Falcon swinging into the opening week of the NFL season and soaring straight into the record books. The death-defying stunt, a new Guinness World Record for the highest indoor rope swing. The drop, a massive 43 metres off the top of the stadium. And while no word on the reaction from inside the suit, Freddie's flapped his way to our play of the day. Sales, I don't know whether the leg hold was supposed to be a part of it, but he got away with it and he's got a record in the books.
Yeah, I would have loved to have done that back in the day. Now I'm just pathetic.
Could you imagine saying, this will be good, it's safe, just do it, please, let's go.
Talk to the boss.
That's right.
See you tomorrow. Thanks, Matt. You stay with us. Josh is back with your week ahead, weather-wise.
The Volvo EX30 is here.
These are just little things. Little things. Oh, but they mean a lot.
Big on safety. Big on tech. And not so big deal. The fully electric EX30 Volvo.
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic. Classic? The 77 Granny, that was a classic. The 70s? Nah, nothing beats the 80s.
What's happening?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the 90s. So many iconic moments. So many
men.
Well, I played in multiple eras. In the 90s, the 2000s. Okay, Boomer.
Hey, no need for name calling. We're having a civilised discourse regarding the greatest era in sport.
1979, Showtime.
Maybe we should just ignore them.
Sport's gone soft. Excuse me? What sport?
Technically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Awesome. The Tillies and the Quarters.
96 premiers.
It's the 2000s.
Whoa, was that Nicky Webster? the old days, right?
No, we're good.
Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Good evening. A beautiful start to the working week in and across areas of the city. Today we hit a beautiful top of 26 degrees. You can see beautiful Birchgrove this afternoon lapping up those sunny skies. In fact, 26 was a popular number across the harbour city today. We saw those temperatures out west for areas like Richmond and Penrith, but a great afternoon for a walk on Birchgrove Oval there. As you can see, someone having a bit of a row as well. But certainly when we've got this beautiful spring weather on show, getting outside is a popular thing. Even a hit of tennis. Not such a bad idea this afternoon. We are currently sitting on 21 degrees in the CBD. Last night we got down to around about 13 degrees, so it's still very comfortable to get to sleep at the moment. We do have a trough of low pressure though through the northeast of the state. As a result of that, we have seen some shower and thunderstorm activity this afternoon, predominantly across areas of the northern rivers and parts of the mid-north coast. Very sporadic, very hit and miss. Only a couple of storms firing up, but if you were underneath one of those storm cells this afternoon, we did see falls of around about 10 to 15 millimetres. Now, tomorrow that area of low pressure will continue to linger through the northeast of the state to its south, a broad area of high pressure. So we're expecting a fine and sunny day for most areas of New South Wales, with a slight exception of the far northeast. Could see the odd shower and storm there. We're looking at early frost patches and fog patches on the ranges and western slopes, but a fine day on the way. Now, the next chance of seeing some rainfall through areas of Sydney will come Wednesday into Thursday as a cold front moves through, and then we're going to see a southerly pulse move up the New South Wales coast, and with that during Wednesday and Thursday we could see some shower activity. And look, at this stage some of the computer forecasting models have a low pressure system developing in the Tasman Sea on around about Friday. I'll be keeping you up to date on that over the coming days, but at this stage there's still a little bit of uncertainty as to whether or where that area of low pressure will form. Brisbane 26 degrees, a shower or two tomorrow, partly cloudy for Sydney, seeing another nice day. 20 degrees for Melbourne and Adelaide, also remaining dry, partly cloudy. 23 the top for Perth. So a pretty good day as mentioned across the state for Tuesday. Sunny skies for Tamworth, Dubbo and Newcastle, those temperatures in the mid to low 20s. 19 the top for Wagga, a little bit cooler there. 20 degrees for Canberra after another chilly start with some early frost patches tomorrow. For the western part of the Sydney Basin, 24 degrees for Richmond, 23 degrees for Penrith, 22 the top for Parramatta, Bankstown and Campbelltown. Another beautiful day on the way, and southwesters offshore on the Sydney waters, 10 to 15 knots, and the sea's hovering around about 1 metre tomorrow. So 22, partly cloudy for Tuesday, no problems whatsoever as we get through tomorrow. Wednesday, mostly sunny and 25, but overnight into Thursday, we could see some showers develop with a top of 19, and that is due to that southerly change moving up the New South Wales coast, not only bringing those showers along with it, but also a substantial drop in the temperatures. Have a look at this for Western Sydney, 28 degrees Wednesday afternoon, and around about 9 degrees cooler as we get to Thursday as the change arrives. Partly cloudy Friday, and at this stage, just a possible shower over Saturday and Sunday. Sandra?
All right, Josh, thank you. That is the news for now. This Monday, the 9th of September, I'm Sandra Sully. Thanks for your company. Stay on 10. Deal or No Deal is next from the team. You have a lovely night. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.